Hey folks, how you doing? This is Kurt with Manana No Mas, and I am making a couple of changes here in the StreamYard while we're going live, but everything should be on the up and up. I just wanted to put this message out to you. I'm always looking for like what's a motivational thing to say, what's a thing that people might see value in, and as the end of the year approaches, and as you maybe get a little introspective about what's going on, maybe you'll find yourself in a similar position. And I wanted to let you know you're not alone. You are not alone. So, what happens a lot, and some people call this imposter syndrome, but you gain skills, you gain credibility, you gain authority in what it is that you're an expert at as time passes, as you become more invested in what you do. And so, if we go back just a few years, I'll say, okay, I got my certification as a John Maxwell speaker, trainer, and coach. So then I was like, well, now I'm official. I wasn't an expert. I was certified in it, but I wasn't an expert. So, and take that for what it's worth. Everybody's got a subjective measurement as to what makes an expert, like a subject matter expert, an SME, if we're in the e-learning world, right? We'll say an expert. Now, shortly thereafter, I was working at Suzuki, and I noticed that I was implementing a lot of John Maxwell traits into my position running the publication and training division at Suzuki. Now, Suzuki's a big company, right? It's got automotive, motorcycle, marine. It's got a lot of moving parts, a lot of vice presidents and mahogany desks and crappy metal desks. And if you knew the inside of how that company worked, you would maybe see the joke in that. And you would be like, wow, okay. So did that for half a decade or so and amassed some other skills, like becoming an expert in how SCORM works and how SCORM interacts with different levels of websites, and why certain enterprise companies really lean in on course authoring tools, and why they don't go to like an LMS Lite option, like building courses inside a WordPress environment, right? Some enterprise companies still want to use Articulate, Captivate, Rise, some of these other programs. And so as we look at that, I go, oh, that's another expert ranking. So over time, people are going to tell you to niche down. They're going to tell you, the riches are in the niches. You need to rich down. What are you going to become an expert in? And as I was growing the agency at Manana No Mas, you would routinely hear me say, and if you followed me on Lifter LMS or WP Tonic or the Manana No Mas podcast or any of the lives that I've done recently, you'll hear me say over and over and over again that I am graphically handicapped, that I am not a graphic designer, that I am not a developer in that range. In fact, a lot of the work that we've done in the past has been mostly template based, and then we make changes to the template to suit the customer's use case or needs. And over time, I've come to realize that is an absolute lie. You see, I'm self-educated in a lot of things that I do on the internet, and I don't have real certifications hanging on the wall for those types of things. And so when I was a speaker, author, coach certified by John Maxwell, I took that as I'm certified. When I was a Ducati certified technician, I took that as I was a certified technician in power sports. When I crafted the training for BRP and for the Power Sport Academy, obviously I could take that as, I'm an expert in power sports functions. And so without having an official certification as a developer or a designer, I was like, well, I'm graphically handicapped. I'm not really a developer or a designer. But here's the truth. The truth is the projects that we have brought into Manana No Mas over the last 2 seasons have been very deep in perfect example. Art of Makeup launched. Art of Makeup, great website, very pretty website. You want to see, a website with lots of great visual features. Take a look at artofmakeup.com. We just launched that last week, 2 weeks ago. And that website was originally intended to be a template website. Like, here's a template, and we're going to, you change your pictures, change your text, and launch that sucker and have at it. but the site was in development much longer than originally forecasted. And we ended up redeveloping the homepage multiple times, the services page multiple times, the instructors page multiple times, the contact page multiple times. I think you get where I'm going here. This website has nothing based on the template other than now we've got some legacy code stuck in the website because we loaded as a template and then changed and modified everything as we redeveloped this site over just about a year and a half. And so between that and the folks at Gravity Learning and a couple of other projects that we've brought on at Mañana No Mas, I've come to really recognize we are developers. We are graphic. We work in these fields. And not only do we work in these fields, we excel at these fields. And so over the last couple of months, I've begun to really embrace the idea that we are a whole lot more than what I was telling. Now, that false humility, that's great because, you know, you're not out there banging your drum all the time or telling everybody how wonderful you are and all this stuff. Like humility is a great thing to have, but false humility is not a great thing to have. When you have a demonstrable skill or a level of expertise at something, you owe it not only to yourself, but to your clients to offer that level of expertise. And so as 2025 is rolling in, you're going to see the messaging in Mañana No Mas be a lot more featured on two different kinds of clients. Okay. We have very much our local startup community, right? I think of like Startup Hutch, Hutchinson, Kansas, Reno County, Kansas. I think of these startups as being very local, very centralized. I'm on site here, so I'm able to meet with people and help people from a startup perspective very well. And in those startup environments, you know, we're looking at startup websites, very basic, like a $1,500 setup, $79 a month. Here's a starter template. This is how you change your text and your images, and this is how we get your shopping cart up. Do you need a CRM to track customers and stuff like that? Yes, we can do all that, and we can make it fit within that package. The other side of the spectrum is the other side of the work and the messaging that you're going to see from Mañana No Mas, and that is we are very much geared towards a few killer projects a year that are enterprise clients, people that need us to jump in at the enterprise level of development, design, storyboarding what this thing looks like, wireframing it out in a Figma example, transitioning that Figma design element that's, you know, I hate to say team and committee built, but that's what happens with enterprise environments, right? We get in there and then it turns out that someone in accounting has an opinion, a vice president from some other meeting three rooms down the hallway has an opinion. Everybody's got input that they want to put into this project. And so if we fine tune the project as a design exercise first, and then transition that design exercise into a working online model, and then work on the user experience on how the end user is going to transition from one thing to another within that working model, that is more of an enterprise, like honest, professional built custom website. And so because we have the SCORM knowledge, because we know how to take SCORM and make it affordable in a WordPress space, because we know how to take design and convert design into a working WordPress space, and because we have the skill set that brings all of these channels together, we are able to offer something as an agency that very few can offer in the e-learning space, and that is to give the end user a premium learning experience, and the customer, our client, right, the person providing the learning to the end user, give that client an unbelievable budgetary advantage over their competition and peers. You see, a SCORM-based learning website in a lot of environments is going to be $150,000, $200,000 a year and up and up and up and up and up, right? And I'm talking overall expenses. I'm talking hosting, management, maintenance, content development, all of those things. And so you're looking probably a minimum of $250,000 a year and up and up and up and up for that. But that's because it's just the learning management site. See, these enterprise companies, they also have a marketing site and they have a communication site and an HR site and all of these things. And what if we could work with these enterprise companies and we could say, hey, you know what? We can do the e-learning for your end users. We can also do e-learning, onboarding, and training for your internal users. And we can also incorporate some of the HR responsibilities into the same website. So now we go, oh, that's a different picture. And then we can also have the flexibility to say, you know, if you wanted, we could incorporate your marketing messages and your marketing site into this, and we could build this whole thing to meet your needs as one site instead of 4 or 5 different websites. And when we start having a strategic conversation with an enterprise client from this perspective, we really get to deliver what Mañana No Mas has the ability to do. And we love this kind of work. It's not for everybody. We don't bring in 15, 20 of these a month, right? We bring in a few of these a year. We really put the time and energy into it. The team gets to level it up. And this is something that we are definitely moving towards. We've had projects where people have brought us the Figma file, where they've said, oh, here's a Figma file. We hired a developer, and here's a Figma file, and we'd like our website to look like this. And then Mañana No Mas jumps through some hoops and makes that happen. But here's the deal. We've done this before with pre-existing Divi sites, pre-existing Elementor sites, pre-existing templated websites where someone says, can you add this functionality here, here, and here? And I'm going to be honest with you. Going into 2025, that's not exactly the path we're looking to stay on. What we're looking to do is to say, hey, let's put the brakes on here. Instead of adulterating or modifying or risking performance and compliance issues, accessibility issues, instead of trying to keep propping up this handicap website that you have, let's look at building this as a new project. Let's streamline the code, streamline the tools, make the marketing message what you really wanted it to be, make the e-learning content what you really wanted this to be for your end users, and bring all of these things into a cohesive, well-managed project. And that's what Mañana No Mas is stepping out towards in 2025. So do we still want to service people and bring them into our fold and grow our audience? Absolutely. We still want to do this. We have a great, entrepreneur startup package through Mañana No Mas. We take care of the hosting. We give you the templated site. We give you the tools that you need as a startup to get launched, to get your message out and to get you going. And then we kind of skip over a bunch of nonsense in the middle and we get to the enterprise client that is really ready to embrace a custom website with customized needs, largely focused on membership, communication, and e-learning. If it's a consumer product company that manufactures a consumer product, that automatically bakes in at least 3 learning products that we can put into the website for them. Features and benefits training so that people in the field can sell the stuff. And then how to use it, courses, so that customers that buy the product know how to use the product. And then an after sales training curriculum that shows technicians in the field how to repair these things when they fail to do what the customer is expecting the product to do. So when the product eventually fails, how do they fix it in the field? So you've got 3 training products right out of the chute. So if we develop a website that takes care of your marketing message, that also tracks your press interactions, your public relations work. So we build all that in. And then we have an HR channel inside the website where human resources can onboard people remotely and get them to do some onboarding and training internally, internal training. We can do that. That's fantastic. And then we can build out other channels within this e-learning that, again, from a consumer product perspective, get people selling your product, using your product, and repairing your product as required in the field. Folks, as I look forward into 2025, I can see that there are a lot of changes, things that had to be recognized by myself as running Mañana No Mas, but also by looking at what our team can do. We have the capacity to do so much more than what we've been selling for the last 2 years. We have the capacity, we have the ability Now what we need to do is aggressively look at that path and make sure that we're offering that value to people that are in that audience. There's been people that have come to us and they have this idea that because they're looking at Lifter LMS, that it's only a DIY platform, that they have to build it themselves. We've had people come to us that, maybe they're going through WP Tonic and they're signing up for all of these key features. And they're thinking, oh, well, but I don't have the people internally to build what I've really envisioned. See, that's where Mañana No Mas steps in. You don't need to be a DIY client to use Lifter LMS or LearnDash or Buddy Boss or any of the Fluent tools in the Fluent suite. You don't need to be a do-it-yourself client. If you are an enterprise level client and you're interested at the flexibility and the savings that WordPress can deliver through these other tools, but you don't have the staff on hand, or you don't have a division that is, WordPress development, well, that's where Mañana No Mas really shines. So I would encourage you to get in touch with us. Now, for people that are watching this video and they're not in the agency space, I opened this video, this live up with questions like recognition of skills for the end of year. And my motivational kind of messaging in this is I'm explaining that I've noticed a gap in recognition for our work. We very much, I've always said, oh, we're design handicapped. We are graphically handicapped. And that just isn't true. It may have been true 3 years ago. It may have been true 2 years ago. It may have been partially true a year ago. But now, looking at the work that we've already done and the work that we've performed for people, we have clients now that come to us and go, oh, we think the radius should be greater on these assets inside the website, or this should be this color purple, or this should be that I want to have 4 or 5 different calls to action on this lead magnet. And we are the experts. The client may have some input, but we are the experts. At the end of the day, the client can have what they want. They can say, oh, I want 5 or 6 calls to action on my lead magnet. I want this to be purple. I want this to be red. I want this to be round. I want this to be square. They have that input. They can say that. They can demand those changes. But as an agency owner, as the person consulting them as a business, I still need to have not only the ability, but the strength and the confidence to say, whoa, that kind of steps out the bounds of best practices. And as an expert, you only want to have 1 or 2 calls to action on a lead magnet. You want to lower the use of the colors that you're trying to use. You don't want to have circles and squares and triangles all over the website. We want to stay consistent in how things look and more uniformed in how the website presents itself to the end user. The communication of your website is not just the words, but it's the overall appearance of the site. And we want to stay consistent and keep the reader comfortable within that space. And you see, as an expert, these are the messages that we get to convey. And I'm telling you that more than ever, I am making an actual official recognition of that skill set, that expertise. And I'm encouraging you to do the same. Whatever it is that you do as a business, I'm encouraging you to look at what you do and go, well, wait a minute. I've kind of had this false humility about my skill level here. I've actually leveled up quite a bit this year, or over the last 2 years, or over the last 5 years. I'll share with you something that my daughter might not want me to share. My daughter's 20. She's at that really delicate age where she's kind of a kid, but she's an adult. But she's kind of a kid, but she's an adult. And so she's going through some things in life where some people are treating her as if she is a child. She is not a child. She's an adult. Not only is she an adult, she is an accomplished adult. She is a figure skating coach. She coaches kids and adults how to get ahead at the sport that they love. And so when she's growing her own business as a coach, as an entrepreneur, she is a business person. She is an adult. But some people might tend to look at her as if she is a child. And I'm encouraging her to dismiss people that look at her as a child and focus on people that look at her as an adult. So if you're in an environment where people treat you as a child, you want to correct that expectation. And if they don't adjust to that correction, move on from them and move forward with people that recognize your skill set and treat you as an adult. This happens way into our adult lives. I can remember being a service writer in the automotive industry at 34, 35 years old. I can remember being 34 or 35, being the youngest person on the service drive writing service, having the highest sales numbers, the highest grosses, the highest, best combination of customer pay and warranty, and still having my coworkers call me junior. Still having my coworkers go, "Hey kid, can you move that car?" Right? I was the highest performing person on the service drive. I was actually making notes so that I could write a book on this industry, which I successfully wrote and published in 2007. But even though I had all of these accolades, even though I had all of these KPIs in my back pocket of how great I was at this job, I still allowed people to refer to me as kid. Kid. Hey, junior, do this, do that. And because I allowed that to happen, I failed to recognize my expertise or my actual level of provision. And I want to encourage you, take a moment, look at what you really do. Look at the key performance indicators in whatever your industry is. If you're a plumber, what is your consumables waste? What is your product waste? Because we all know plumbers are cutting pipe and fitting things together, right? Cutting pipe and fitting things together. As you get better and better at this job, your waste gets less and less. A percentage of waste goes less and less. Your percentage of consumable waste goes less and less. And what does that do? It raises margins. It raises profitability. So if you've gotten to a point where you're extremely efficient and proficient at what you do, and someone is still treating you like a journeyman, it's time to move on. It's time to get into an audience that recognizes your expertise. If you run a print shop, if you're a plumber, if you're an electrician, if you're an auto mechanic, if you are someone that works at a food service provider, if you're a caterer, if you're a driver, I want you to really take a look at what you do, what service you provide, and what benefit you bring to that audience, and then look at how that audience refers to you. Do they refer to you with the level of expertise and accomplishment that you've earned? Now, be real with yourself. If you're coming in late and you're hungover and you smell like a pack of cigarettes and you're eating gummies on your break and coming back faded, obviously you are not at the higher echelon of what's expected. But if you're doing the work and you're grinding it out, especially if you're an entrepreneur offering services, I want to encourage you to look at what you really offer, what value you really bring to the table. Make sure that you acknowledge yourself and then portray yourself in that way to others. Folks, I got to tell you, escaping California last year, getting to Kansas, getting that monkey off my back that was the economy of California, getting that monkey off my back and being able to breathe and take notice of where I was at, take stock of what I was doing, take stock of what my value was, and being able to move forward with a new marketing message for my company has been an absolute game changer. And I want to recommend the same pathway for you. So as we come up on the end of the year, I'd love you to just take a moment, take stock and recognize your skills and how you're going to change how you market those skills going into the new year. Have yourself a wonderful day. As always, I love coming out to you guys. I get lots of good feedback off channel. If you get an opportunity to make a comment on channel, I'd love to hear from you, where you're from, where you're at, the value this message brought to you, or any way it changed your thinking. Or if you'd like to see anything different in my messaging, let me know what it is that you'd like to see or help that you'd like, whether it be in the online space, leadership, speaking, coaching, whatever. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.